My name is Ethan Hayes. I am 35 years old, and this story begins not in a courtroom or a dimly lit office, but at a lunch table with my in-laws. The kind of lunch that pretends to be about family, but carries a weight no one wants to acknowledge. The room was bright, the table long, plates set with polished silverware that gleamed under the sunlight spilling through wide windows. But beneath that polished surface was something sharp, something waiting. Let me tell you who sat at that table with me, because each of them shaped what happened next whether they meant to or not. My wife, Amanda, 33, elegant in her appearance and practiced in her smile, the kind of woman who knows how to hold a glass of wine as though it were a crown. Her father, Charles, 62, stern and controlling, a man who believes silence is weakness and power is inherited, not earned. Her mother, Evelyn, 59, graceful but cold, whose loyalty lies not with truth, but with the image of a perfect family. Amanda's brother, Tyler, 28, smug and arrogant, always eager to follow his father's lead like a shadow without thought of his own. And then, somewhere far from this table but closer to me than any of them knew, was my sister, Grace, 30, sharp-eyed and cautious, the only person who had warned me not to trust what looked like smiles. These are the people circling this story, but it begins here, with the scrape of a fork, the murmur of forced laughter, and the buzz of my phone against the table. I glanced down casually, the way you do when you don't want anyone to notice you're distracted, and I saw it, a message from an unknown number. The words were simple, chilling, and carved into me like a knife. Don't react. They're recording you. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The dining room blurred at the edges as I read those words again and again. Don't react. They're recording you. My heart pounded in my chest, but I forced my hand to stay steady as I placed the phone face down, hiding the glow of the screen from curious eyes. Amanda was watching me closely, her smile just a little too tight, her eyes glimmering with something that wasn't love. Charles leaned back in his chair with a glass of red wine, his gaze heavy, weighing me down. Evelyn stirred her soup without eating, her lips pressed together in a thin line. Tyler cracked a joke that no one laughed at, his eyes darting between his father and me as though waiting for something to happen. I realized then that the message wasn't a lie. Something was happening, and I was already in the middle of it. I forced a smile and lifted my fork, spearing a piece of chicken, chewing slowly, carefully, as if nothing in the world was wrong. I could feel the weight of their eyes on me, waiting, watching, recording. My mind raced. Who had sent the message? Grace? Was she nearby? Had she overheard something? Or was it someone else entirely, an ally I didn't even know I had? Whoever it was, they had saved me in that moment, because without those words I might have reacted. I might have snapped at Amanda's cold smile or Charles's condescending tone, and then, on camera, I would have been painted as the villain. Instead, I stayed calm. I stayed silent. But inside, I was burning. Amanda leaned closer, her voice sweet enough to sicken me. "You're awfully quiet today, Ethan," she said. "Something on your mind?" Her words were bait, thrown across the table like a lure. I swallowed my bite, took a sip of water, and shook my head. "Just enjoying the food," I replied. Charles chuckled, the sound low and mocking. "Good. At least you can appreciate what's in front of you." Evelyn smiled faintly, as if pleased by his comment, while Tyler smirked like a boy who thinks he's in on a joke. I forced myself to laugh lightly, though every fiber of my being screamed to confront them, to demand answers, to tear apart the facade they had built around me. But the message echoed in my mind. Don't react. They're recording you. So I didn't. I let them play their little game, and I played mine. The lunch dragged on, every comment a needle, every smile a mask. Amanda brought up old arguments disguised as casual conversation, asking if I had finished the little project I had been working on, knowing full well she meant the business she had tried to sabotage. Charles asked about finances in a tone that sounded friendly but was designed to provoke, hinting at debts that didn't exist, failures that weren't mine. Evelyn sighed dramatically whenever I spoke, as though my words were too heavy for her delicate ears. Tyler rolled his eyes whenever I answered, whispering to his mother when he thought I wasn't looking. And through it all, I stayed calm. I chewed, I drank, I smiled. I gave them nothing. But inside, I recorded every detail. Their words, their expressions, the rhythm of their attack. Because if they thought they were recording me, they didn't realize I was recording them too, in my mind. in my heart, in ways that would come back to them when they least expected it. And now, I turn to you, the one listening right now. Tell me, do you think I made the right choice by staying calm? Or should I have confronted them right there? Smashed the mask they were wearing in front of the cameras I could not see? Let me know by your comments, because your voice matters in this story as much as mine does. We are building a community where truth is stronger than betrayal. And I want to know, was my silence the right weapon, or should I have chosen fire instead? The meal ended with dessert no one touched. Amanda leaned back in her chair, satisfied, as though she had accomplished something. Charles stood and clapped me on the shoulder with just enough force to bruise. Evelyn kissed Amanda's cheek and whispered something I couldn't hear. Tyler laughed as he walked out, his voice echoing in the hallway. I sat there, alone at the table, staring at the remains of a meal that had never been about food. My phone buzzed again. I lifted it slowly, heart pounding, and read the second message from the unknown number. Be ready. You'll know when. I slipped the phone into my pocket and stood, my face calm, my steps steady. They thought they had played me. They thought I was the fool. But what they didn't know was that the game had only just begun. When I left that lunch, Amanda walked beside me with her arm looped through mine, the picture of a perfect wife. To anyone watching, we looked like a couple in harmony. But every step I took felt like a march into enemy territory. Her perfume lingered in the air, sweet but suffocating, and I wondered how long it had been since her scent had felt like comfort instead of camouflage. The drive home was quiet. Amanda scrolled on her phone, smiling faintly, her lips twitching as if a private joke played across the screen. I glanced once and saw Jason's name flash there. Jason, my best friend once, now reduced to whispers and shadows in my marriage. She turned the phone away quickly, pretending she was checking the weather, and I pretended not to notice. That was the game we played now. Pretending. But the message burned in my mind. Don't react. They're recording you. I replayed every moment of that lunch. The way Charles pressed his questions about money, the way Evelyn sighed when I spoke, the way Tyler smirked and muttered to his mother. They weren't just being cruel, they were staging something. They wanted me angry, loud, out of control, something they could replay later, something they could use to paint me as unstable. But instead, I gave them calm, and calm was the one thing they didn't know how to fight. That night, when Amanda went to bed, I sat in my study and unlocked the small safe where I had been keeping things I never told her about. Inside were copies of bank statements, photographs of receipts, and a small voice recorder. I had been suspicious for months, ever since Amanda's behavior shifted from neglect to cruelty, ever since Jason's texts became too frequent, too familiar. I pressed play on the recorder and listened to the voices I had captured weeks earlier, Amanda and Jason in the kitchen when they thought I was asleep. Her voice was sharp, his smooth, both filled with laughter at my expense. He won't see it coming, Jason had said. We'll make it look like it was all his fault. Amanda's laugh had been low and bitter. He's predictable. He'll lose his temper, and when he does, we'll have everything we need. I shut it off before the bile rose too high in my throat. Predictable. That was the word they had clung to, the word they thought defined me. They thought they could record me, trap me, turn me into the villain in their little performance. But they had forgotten one thing. Predictable men don't rent storage units under false names. Predictable men don't copy bank records when no one is watching. Predictable men don't stay silent when silence is the sharpest weapon. The unknown message had confirmed what I already knew. I wasn't paranoid. They were plotting, and someone out there wanted me to know. The next day, I called Grace. My sister had always been sharper than anyone gave her credit for, and she was the only one I trusted completely. I told her about the message, about the way Amanda and her family had circled me like vultures at lunch. There was a pause on the line before she said softly, "Ethan, you need to be careful. I've heard things." My breath caught. "What things?" She lowered her voice. "A friend of mine works in the clerk's office. She said Amanda's family has been pushing papers for weeks. They're building a case to paint you as abusive, unstable, unfit. They want to corner you in court, take everything, and leave you with nothing." The lunch wasn't about food. It was about bait. I sat there in silence, gripping the phone until my knuckles ached. So it was true. The message hadn't been paranoia. It had been confirmation. Grace hesitated. "Ethan, was it you I texted during lunch? I tried to warn you, but the number wasn't saved." My heart jumped. It had been her. My sister had saved me in that moment without even knowing how much she had done. It was you, I whispered. You sent the message. She exhaled in relief. Good. Then you know you can't react. You can't give them what they want. Her words steadied me. I promised her I would stay calm, but inside, something hardened. If they wanted to record me, I would record them. If they wanted to bait me, I would bait them back. If they wanted war, I would give them silence until silence cut deeper than sound. Over the next weeks, I gathered everything. I mirrored Amanda's phone with software she didn't know existed. I copied her emails, her late-night whispers to Jason, her casual admissions to her mother about getting everything in the settlement. I printed bank statements that showed withdrawals to accounts I never touched, accounts that Tyler had helped open under the guise of investments. I placed small cameras in my study and living room, hidden well enough that even Amanda's suspicious eyes wouldn't find them. And slowly, piece by piece, the picture came together. They weren't just planning to leave me. They were planning to ruin me. Amanda wanted the house. Charles wanted to tie my name to debts that weren't mine. Evelyn wanted me discredited, painted as a failure who had dragged their daughter down. Tyler wanted to laugh at my downfall. And Jason wanted Amanda, the house, and the satisfaction of knowing he had destroyed the man who once called him brother. But I had something they didn't. Proof. Proof of their laughter. Proof of their whispers. Proof of their arrogance. Every night, I added to the binder a growing arsenal of truth they didn't even know existed. And through it all, I smiled at Amanda. I kissed her cheek. I asked her how her day had been. Because patience is power, and they were feeding me their weapons without even realizing it. One evening, Amanda tested me. She brought up an old argument about finances, raising her voice, pushing me to respond. I saw the faint red light of her phone on the counter, recording. My blood boiled, but I remembered Grace's message. Don't react. They're recording you. So I didn't. I kept my voice calm, steady, measured. And when she realized she couldn't provoke me, her frustration cracked her mask for just a moment. That crack was all I needed. And now I turn to you, the one listening right now. Do you think I was right to wait, to keep smiling while building proof? Or should I have confronted Amanda and her family right then, ripped their lies apart before they grew deeper? Tell me in the comments, because your voice is the only echo that keeps this story alive. And I want to know if you believe patience was strength or weakness. The weeks turned into months, and the trap they thought they were setting became the trap they were walking into. Amanda grew bolder, whispering to Jason in the kitchen, mocking me with Tyler, laughing with her mother about how Ethan has no idea. But I had every idea. I had every word saved, every file copied, every receipt tucked away. They thought silence made me blind. They didn't realize silence was me sharpening the knife. And when the time came, I would not need to scream. I would only need to open the binder and let their own words cut them to pieces. The day finally came, though it didn't arrive with thunder or warning. It came quietly, the way a knife slides into fabric without a sound. Amanda had been smug for weeks, her family circling me like vultures who believed the body was already cold. Jason grew bolder, calling late at night, sometimes slipping by when he thought I wasn't home, leaving just before I returned. Charles had taken to mocking me openly, Evelyn sighing as though enduring my presence was a burden, Tyler whispering insults with the grin of a child who believes he is untouchable. They thought they had already won. But victory is not won until the truth is told, and I had been holding the truth like a loaded gun. It began on a Saturday evening. Amanda suggested dinner at her parents' house, casual, just family. I agreed without hesitation, my voice calm, my smile easy. She thought I was oblivious, that I didn't notice the way she and Jason exchanged quick glances when she invited me. But I knew. They wanted a scene. They wanted me angry. They wanted their recording. I wanted my moment. We arrived at Charles and Evelyn's home just as the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky painted with the last strokes of daylight. The house was warm, candles lit, the table set with care. Amanda sat close to Jason, too close, her hand brushing his when she thought no one was looking. Charles watched me like a hawk, waiting for a reaction. Evelyn spoke in clipped tones, her every word designed to provoke. Tyler laughed too loudly, already drunk on the anticipation of my downfall. I ate in silence, my fork steady, my eyes calm. I let them believe they were winning. Halfway through the meal, Amanda pulled out her phone, pretending to check a message but leaving the screen lit on the table. I saw the recording app running. So that was it. They wanted to bait me into an explosion they could replay, twist, and wield like a weapon. I smiled. Amanda, I said softly, do you mind if I share something with everyone? She blinked, her smile faltering for the briefest second. Of course, Ethan. What is it? I reached into my bag and pulled out the binder. The room shifted instantly, the air tightening, the laughter dying. Charles frowned. Evelyn's lips pressed into a thin line. Tyler leaned back, uneasy. Jason's smirk froze in place. Amanda laughed nervously. What's that? Proof, I said simply. I opened the binder and laid it on the table. The first page was a copy of an email between Amanda and Jason, mocking me, plotting against me. Their words, their laughter, their cruelty, all in black and white. The second page was a bank statement, showing money funneled into accounts under Jason's name. The third was a transcript of their late-night messages, their so-called strategy sessions about how to push me over the edge. Amanda's hand trembled. Jason shifted uncomfortably. Charles leaned forward, his voice low and dangerous. What is this, Ethan? The truth, I said. Everything you thought I was too blind to see, too predictable to catch. Every lie, every scheme, every theft. I know it all, and I have every piece of proof. I pressed play on the small recorder in my pocket, and their voices filled the room. Amanda's laugh, Jason's taunts, the plan to record me, to provoke me, to destroy me. The room was silent except for their own words echoing back at them. Amanda's face went pale. Jason cursed under his breath. Evelyn gasped, her hand to her mouth. Charles's eyes darkened with rage, not at me, but at his daughter, his perfect daughter, caught in the act. Tyler muttered something about this being a setup, but no one listened. I shut off the recorder and looked at them calmly. You wanted to record me. You wanted to provoke me. You wanted to ruin me. But instead, I recorded you. I stayed silent while you wrote your own downfall. And now, the story is yours to explain. Amanda tried to speak, her voice breaking. Ethan, please, it's not what it looks like. I raised my hand, stopping her. It's exactly what it looks like. And soon, it won't just be me who knows. Lawyers, judges, the people who once thought you were perfect, they'll all see. Charles slammed his hand on the table, his voice thunderous. You can't do this. I met his glare without flinching. I already have. The silence that followed was heavier than any scream. Amanda buried her face in her hands. Jason stood abruptly, muttering about leaving, but Charles barked at him to sit. Evelyn whispered Amanda's name over and over, as though saying it might erase what had been revealed. Tyler sat in stunned silence, his smirk gone, his bravado shattered. I stood slowly, the binder in my hand. You thought I was predictable. You thought I would break. But I didn't. I waited. I watched. And now I have everything I need. I walked to the door, my steps steady, my back straight. Amanda called after me, her voice desperate, but I didn't turn. Some words don't deserve answers. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was afraid, but because I was free. In the days that followed, the fallout began. Amanda begged me to meet, to talk, to forgive. Jason disappeared, leaving her to face the storm alone. Charles tried to pull strings, to bury the evidence, but it was too late. The documents were already in the hands of my lawyer. Evelyn avoided me entirely, her shame too heavy to carry. Tyler went silent, his arrogance crushed. And me? I smiled. I had survived their trap. I had turned their own weapons against them. I had taken their plan for destruction and rebuilt it into my proof. And now, I turn to you, the one who has walked with me through this story. Do you think I made the right choice? Do you think silence, patience, and proof were the weapons I needed? Or should I have torn them apart the moment I saw their betrayal? Tell me in the comments below, because your voice matters. This isn't just my story. It's ours, a community built on truth, on resilience, on revenge not of anger, but of justice. Amanda thought she had ended me that day at lunch. Instead, she ended herself. And I was there to watch.